Wow, realism was quick, wasn't it? And now we are on to the fourth and final period in this course, modernism. Its historical, cultural, and literary characteristics. Modernism time span just before World War I and up to World War II. Just after the turn of the 20th century up to the 1940s. Though many, of course, argue that we still are in the modern period. In general, it refers to 20th century literature, especially around the time of the First World War and after. Modernism characteristics. Modernism refers not only to an artistic literary period, but a global cultural shift in thought and outlook. Modernism is an attitude as well as a period. It's defined by a kind of worldwide cultural crisis caused by revolutionary thinking and technological advancement, mainly in the very late 19th century and then the transitioning into the 20th century. Charles Darwin, Sigmund Freud, Albert Einstein, and the weapons technology introduced in World War I. Charles Darwin, because of course his idea of natural selection and evolution sort of knocked mankind off his pedestal in terms of thinking he was so special and separate from other animals. Sigmund Freud, psychoanalysis, the study of the unconscious and unconscious drives, and of course the fact that he postulated that the vast majority of brain activity, mental activity was unconscious. Suddenly, it was revealed that human beings are not as in conscious control of themselves as they once thought they were. Albert Einstein, because, he replaced Isaac Newton in terms of, the scientific thought that is just taken as a given and is granted now. Instead of universally constant laws, you have relativity, the theory of relativity. And most traumatically, the weapons technology introduced in World War I. This is a direct kick in the face, a direct negative answer to what the Enlightenment promised. Enlightenment, of course, promised that knowledge and technical and scientific pursuit would save mankind, but, the technology pushed in the direction for World War I suddenly made human casualties on a scale before unimaginable possible, with chemical weapons and howitzers, trench warfare, tanks, machine guns. And of course, this would develop later in the 20th century with the ultimate horror of atomic warfare and nuclear warfare, potential nuclear warfare. The World War I's cultural legacy among many cultural theorists is that it marked the institutionalization of instability. And what I mean by that is, you ever noticed how we live in a crazy time in which, we're just remarkably used to the fact that anything could go horribly wrong, just a major catastrophe could go wrong at any second in the world, especially now that we live in the post-9/11 world, and we, in a desensitized way, just accept that with a shrug. That's what I mean by the institutionalization of instability. It's the new normal. Instability is the new normal. Now, what defines the attitude of modernism is, first of all, what defines the crisis that is at its core. Because of all the things I described on the previous slide, all that you had once accepted as true, good, and stable has now been taken away from you, resulting in uncertainty, doubt, disillusionment, despair, and a sense of alienation of the individual. Now, modernism's artistic response to all of this, new and experimental forms and approaches. the motto of the highly influential American poet Ezra Pound, make it new. Make it new. Also, highly self-referential and self-aware. The terms applicable here are metafiction and metatextuality. Now, what do I mean by metafiction? Well, meta meaning extra or outside fiction. Metatextuality falls under metafiction, but it refers specifically to the written word, hence text. Metacinema would refer to the moving picture, movies or television shows. What you're probably most familiar with is movies and television shows, so what metafiction refers to is that classic phrase and concept of breaking the fourth wall. Usually, say, in a television show when a character suddenly turns and starts talking to the audience through the camera. That's breaking the fourth wall, because you're breaking the fundamental rule of fiction that the characters and the work of fiction are supposed to be a self-contained hypothetical world that is not aware of itself as a work of fiction. But when that kind of self-awareness is demonstrated in that cute way, it is metafiction. Or in the case of a work of literature, metatextuality. But it can get an awful lot more complicated than just, well, a character talking to you. It's pretty much any time a work in any way demonstrates whether it be from the characters or from the narrator or from the author himself, an awareness of the stories being fiction or a work of literature. Modernist art and literature embraced ambiguity because, of course, uncertain time, therefore the subject matter and the style reflects that. Goes back to the new experimental forms, really. And yes, as you would think, the tone is often somber, because uncertainty, doubt, disillusionment, despair, and alienation are obviously not very pleasant things. But at best, if there is an opportunity for redemption, the tone can be tragicomic or absurd, just silly because, well, everything we took as real and thought we knew has been proven wrong. Let's just go crazy. Very clownish. And this should not be king, that's a typo. Kind, there we go. A kind of hyperrealism, where the line between fiction and reality is blurred to the point where one questions the fundamental assumptions of reality as we know it. In other words, what is real? And I just explained metatextuality, but there it is. I kind of got ahead of myself there, but that's fine. You can just simply read this right here. Okay. So off to modern literature.